I'm now going to call Peter Grant, and Mr. Grant, you have 10 minutes to sum up for your side of the house.
But I'll do my best. I'm struck by the fact again that I think this is the third time we've done a child maintenance service debate in Westminster Hall, and there's been very little disagreement anywhere. Everybody accepts that it's not working. Everybody accepts that the time for talking about changing it is long past. We need to start seriously changing it. It's very noticeable this time that the overwhelming majority of contributions have come from the Minister's own party. 2 of them for people who have been there with ministerial responsibility. Incidentally, while the Right Honourable lady from Romsey in Southampton North was speaking, I did a quick check. I think since she moved on from DWP in 2017, we're now on our 5th Child Maintenance Minister. Maybe that explains part of the reason why it's taken so long to get anywhere. There's obviously reasons why there's been so many cabinet changes in that time, but I think a child maintenance service is far too important to be one of the things that gets added to somebody's portfolio and they stay there for 6 months and gets moved on, because it is complex, and if a minister is over there for a year, they're not going to get time to get on top of it and to really drive forward significant changes. As I said, this is a system that is simply not fit for purpose. I don't think we can beat around the bush and look for minor changes. We need a complete overhaul, a complete review, starting from a blank sheet of paper and redesigning the whole thing. But the question that I would ask to illustrate that is, if somebody came in who didn't know what the child maintenance service is for and just looked at what they did, would they ever be able to work out what their purpose in life was? And if they did, I'll guarantee they would not conclude that their main purpose in life was to make sure that no child had to live in poverty simply because of the family circumstances that the parents had found themselves in. If we accept that as a valid purpose for the child maintenance service, we begin to understand just how far away from that target we are just now. The United Kingdom, depending on what figures you believe, were probably 5th or 6th wealthiest economy in the world. 4.2 million children are living in poverty, according to Child Poverty Action Group. Again, you can argue about the exact number, but you cannot argue that number of children living in poverty in an economy with so much money swirling around in some places is simply not acceptable. And by fixing the child maintenance service, we can certainly reduce the number of children in poverty, and we can do it in a way that the people who pay for it are the people who should be paying all along. The parents who've had the children who, for one reason or another, are simply not meeting responsibilities to provide financial support for their children's upbringing. There was one of the previous speakers, the honourable member for Amber Valley, I think, who talked about the fact that debt owed through the child maintenance service isn't seen as important or as such a high priority for collection as debt owed to the government. Again, that's just simply wrong. Why don't we have a system where the DWP paid all the child maintenance that was due, and then the DWP chased the people who were fiddling the figures or who were trying to hide and not pay the money? I can guarantee that if the DWP were chasing an absent parent for the money, they wouldn't be living in a fancy yacht in the Bahamas and with the Mediterranean, as the honourable member for Strangford referred to. Or if they were doing that, if they were doing that, they certainly, I'll give you in a minute, if they were doing that, if the money was owed to the government, they certainly wouldn't be posting on Facebook, boasting about how much money they had and how much they were able to hide. I'll give you.
I don't know if he was able to listen to my points about moral hazard. Does he agree his proposal that the taxpayer would be directly picking up the absent payment of parents who were not paying would double the impact of saying, actually, you don't have a responsibility, the taxpayer will step in directly and take it up for you?
If he'd listened to what I was saying, he would have realised that that's exactly what I'm not saying. What I'm saying is that the full force of collection and enforcement that is in the hands of HMRC or DWP just now should be brought to bear, not only on those who are refusing to pay what is being assessed they can to pay, but for those who are lying, who are committing fraud, who are stealing from their own children. Ultimately, they would still be stealing from their own children. But HMRC have got powers to enforce debt in a way that a single parent doesn't have. That's what I'm saying. It's not a simple solution, but I think it would make a significant difference. As is mentioned, DWP's own figures reckon that since the child maintenance service was set up, £590 million of debt has not been collected. And remember, that won't include the undetected fraud and under-declaration of income and assets, and so on. Something else I always find concerning about the DWP is that, particularly about CMS, is that they don't seem to have any curiosity about a parent who fights and fights and fights to get a settlement and then just disappears off the system, who gives up. And I find in child maintenance service cases I've dealt with, probably the single biggest outcome is that the parent with responsibility for bringing up the children simply gives up in frustration, decides that it's better for them just to go on with their life, to struggle through, or very often in or near poverty, because they can't any longer cope with the stress of dealing with a child maintenance service. That is a shocking indictment on any government department, particularly a government department whose only point and the only reason to exist is to make lives better for vulnerable young children. I've often noticed that when we speak to the paying partner always talks about how much they're having to pay to their ex-partner. They don't actually see it, and very often they don't see it as paying for the upkeep of the children. There's something about the language that they use here that we need to look at. Something that was raised by one of my constituents at a roundtable held by Five Gingerbread, which I hope the department have picked up and started to act on, is that the letters get addressed to the parent, and it's the parent's name that's on it. It doesn't say to the parent of and then the child. It's a simple way of making it clear that this is about the children. There will often be bad will between two partners who have split up, whether they split up amicably or acrimoniously. Once they start disagreeing about money, it's likely to become quite a bit more acrimonious. But the children should never be made to suffer as a result of that. I mentioned Five Gingerbread. I do need to commend once again the outstanding work that they have done, not just within the boundaries of Five, but they're one of the organisations who have influenced the way that the child maintenance service is now operating. I'm convinced that, for example, scrapping the £20 fee in order to claim child maintenance, Five Gingerbread is one of the organisations that can claim part of the credit for having achieved that, as well as a number of other changes that we're seeing just now. We've had reference to the fact that the IT systems are just not fit for purpose. This is the 21st century. We're almost a quarter way into the 21st century. They're using systems that are 40, 50 years out of date. The Right Honourable Member of the Chair of the Committee and other members of the DWP Select Committee and the Public Accounts Committee will remember only too well what happened to payment of state pensions. Then they carried on using systems that were no longer fit for purpose. We could be heading for an equally massive injustice in the assessment, payment and collection of child maintenance if we don't get those systems sorted out. There's no reason, as Honourable Member for Amber Barney said, it shouldn't take 3 or 4 months for somebody to be told why the assessment is the number that it is. If somebody queries their HMRC assessment, in fact, when you get assessed on self-assessment, it can go online and it's sitting in front of you exactly why they've assessed you for that amount. The final thing that I'll say, Chair, is that one way to reduce the need for child maintenance is for governments to take other action to lift children out of poverty. Actions that this government could undertake, which have already been shown to be successful under the Scottish Government. The child payment, which has lifted about 50,000 children in Scotland out of poverty. Do that down here, you're talking about 500,000 children being lifted out of poverty. Actions that the Scottish Government have been taken are estimated to reduce the cost of bringing up a child by somewhere in the region of £25,000 to £26,000 during that child's childhood. Policies similar to that reduce the demands on child maintenance. It reduces the need for children of either to live in poverty or for their parents to be almost literally coming to blows, arguing about who should pay for the child. I entirely agree that nobody should feel they can just raise their children to be the responsibility of someone else. I find it interesting that financial neglect, which is what we're talking about here, is treated different from any other forms of neglect. If a parent neglects their child in any other way, we don't just stand back and leave the parents to sort it out. If a parent is financially deliberately neglecting their child, they can't be allowed to get away with it. I don't have confidence that the existing child maintenance service will ever be able to address that. That's why I think we need to design an entirely new service that is fit for the 21st century and that recognises the wide variety of circumstances that people are living in today.
Mr. Grant, perfect 10 minutes. Shadow Minister.